Hey everyone, I'm Lola and I'm currently 22. I just graduated from art school and moved to New York City to pursue a career in fashion design. My life seemed perfect. I was in a new city ready to pursue my dream. There was only one problem. My roommate sneaks into my bed at night. Sometimes I'm asleep when he does it. Sometimes I'm awake, and I have no idea why. It all started when I first moved to the big city. Looking for a place to live here is so hard. Everything is too expensive, too small, or too dirty. I was browsing the internet for some apartments for rent when I stumbled upon the perfect apartment. 1 bedroom, clean, sunny, spacious, and free rent. But you have to do a few favors for me. I thought that was weird. A few favors? I hope not the sexual kind. But look, I was desperate. I answered the listing and got a response immediately to meet him the next day. I got to the apartment. To my surprise, my roommate was a young guy, maybe around my age, and he looked normal too. He introduced himself as Louis. He showed me the apartment and said that the rent was free if I did a few favors for him. Things like buying the groceries, picking up the mail, and general housework. Oh yeah, and one more thing. He could sleep in my bed whenever he wanted. He promised that nothing sexual would happen. I was pretty shocked, but hey, this was New York. Strange things happen all the time. I agreed to the deal, but I warned him that I wouldn't hesitate to use my pepper spray if it came to that. I moved in all my stuff the next day. Over the next few weeks, nothing super unusual happened. I stocked the fridge, picked up the mail, made sure the house was clean. Things seemed to be going well. One night, he asked me to warm up some milk and put it in a bottle. I thought it was weird, but I didn't think much of it. I was just about to fall asleep until I heard footsteps coming towards my room. He just stood there in the doorway staring at me while I was laying there. I asked him if he needed something, but he didn't respond. After about 5 minutes of him just watching me, he left and went back to his room. It totally creeped me out. What did he want? The next day was a bit awkward. Louis seemed fine with everything. He acted like nothing happened and went off to work. I wanted to ask him about it, but I felt too weird and awkward about it. Plus, if I brought it up, maybe he would kick me out of the apartment, and I just got settled in. Things seemed to be picking up for me. I just landed my first fashion job, and I almost forgot about that weird incident with Louis. Until one night he came into my room again, and this time he didn't just stand in the doorway. He slowly crept towards my bed. He told me not to look. He told me to pretend I was sleeping. I was scared at this point, but I did what he asked. I felt him lift up my blanket and crawl into bed next to me. He pushed his body close to mine. He was naked except for something that felt like some kind of diaper. He then whispered, "This is part of the deal, remember that. I promise I won't do anything sexual, but you need to do this for me." I told him I understood. I guess this is the price I have to pay. I turned slowly to face him to see what was going on, and he just looked at me and said, "Goo goo gaga," like a baby. I was totally weirded out by everything that was going on, but was so in shock that I couldn't really even move. Thankfully, it didn't last very long. He finished his warm milk from a bottle, then after about 15 minutes, he left my bed and went back to his room. This happened for a few more nights. He would randomly crawl into bed and pretend he was a baby. I eventually got used to it, and he never really crossed the line. Sometimes he would even have me act out weird scenarios like I was his mom feeding him a bottle, rocking him back and forth, or even punishing him for making a mess. One night he crawled into bed as usual, but this time it felt different. He got more aggressive, and suddenly he slid his hand up my shirt and tried to take off my shirt. I jumped out of bed and screamed, "What are you doing, you pervert?" He seemed to be a bit hurt, and he stormed off angrily and locked himself in his room. I finally decided to confront him about it the next day. I felt like he went too far, and I reminded him of the agreement that nothing sexual was part of our terms. I then asked him, "Why do you do this kind of thing?" He told me that he had paraphilic infantilism. Yeah, that's right. I had to Google that too. It's basically a sexual fetish that involves role-playing as an infant or a baby. So in short, Louis likes to pretend he's a baby. Things like pooping in diapers, drinking from bottles, even things like breastfeeding. I was in shock and pretty disgusted by it, to be honest. He then told me that his mom died when he was really young, so he basically grew up without a mom. But as a kid, he wanted a mom so badly. This was his way of somehow reliving his troubled childhood, and he said it made him feel safe. I felt kind of bad. But then I realized how weird the entire situation really was. I mean, this was my roomie, and he was allowed to come into my bed every night and relive some weird adult baby fantasy. I'm not sure how much longer I should tolerate this. I mean, it is free rent after all, but is this whole situation crazy or what? I could use some advice on what to do. Comment below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to hear about more wacky stories.